rest of the story. The gentleman from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly am fascinated by the ranking member's fascination in my particular bill. I would wonder where the fascination was when he was committee chairman. He certainly had the ability to give a vote on the bill. I think I heard the gentleman say the bill has been reintroduced. As the author of the bill, I can say it has not been reintroduced. As with many pieces of legislation, it is being refined through the process. I do intend to reintroduce the bill. It will be quite similar to the one that was introduced in the last Congress, but at least there will be a bill. I recall on September 29th, during a full committee hearing where the now ranking member, then chairman, told us that he was disappointed that we were not dealing with, quote, a piece of legislation, but there's no point in rushing that pace. It's not going to be possible now, I know, till November when we come back, because we lost 7 days. Apparently, we are now in the process of losing 133 days. I don't think I've seen the gentleman from Massachusetts introduce the bill that was committed in September. I would yield to the gentleman from Massachusetts.
Well, the gentleman is not accurately representing me. I was not for passing it. I agreed with that. I mean, I was not. The gentleman said it needs to be refined. You know how important refinement is to me. I wouldn't have wanted to pass something that was unrefined. But
well, reclaiming my time for one point,
well,
did the gentleman make a commitment that he was going to introduce legislation in the last Congress, or have I been given an incorrect record? I would
no. Thank the gentleman.
It's a gentleman from Texas time.
I thank the gentleman. I would ask the gentleman, unanimous consent, the gentleman have an additional minute since I've taken his time, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
I would just say, I was, after the election, when the control changed hands, it didn't seem to me that there would be any chance of getting that done in the lame duck. So I just want to say, no, I was not for passing this bill last year. I was being criticized for not being for passing it last year, and I'm very sensitive, so I was just glad to have some support for my position for last year from your witnesses from this year.
Okay. Well, reclaiming my time, I'm not sure I heard the answer on where the gentleman from Massachusetts bill is.
But the gentleman yield, another 30 seconds, and the answer is I have not filed one because it is not my expectation that the majority would pay any attention to it. And if I want to do academic exercises, I go back to school.
Well, reclaiming my time, I appreciate that sentiment. I would note, again, the gentleman certainly had time on his shift to introduce a bill before the House switched. Let me take time now to speak to the members of the panel. I think I heard Mr. Randazzo, maybe it was in your testimony, I'm not sure. Let me ask the question this way. Do any of you believe, as we know what has happened to home price values, we know about the cratering, we know you can look at the Case-Shiller Index. Did Fannie and Freddie play a role in the housing bubble and the housing price inflation? Do we have, Mr. Pollack, do you agree?
Without question, they played a significant role in inflating housing prices, inflating the bubble, and therefore in making the collapse worse.
Do others agree, but perhaps just show, at least I see two nodding heads with Mr. Calabria and Mr. Randazzo, and I don't know about Ms. Wardle. Okay. So we have all the panelists agree that Fannie and Freddie played some role in price inflation. So when I write out my mortgage check each month, I've got principal, I've got interest. In the studies that I've seen, the GSEs may have helped on the interest side anywhere from 7 basis points to 30 basis points. Now, granted, I think the 7 basis points is a several-year-old study from the Federal Reserve. I've seen a number of academic studies. I don't know. Maybe the median's 15 basis points, 20, I don't know. So they help me on the one hand by, say, a median of 15 basis points, but on the other hand, is my principal perhaps not higher because of the artificial demand, meaning at the end of the day, as a consumer, was I really better off? Can we make the case, can we make the case that I was better off? We know the taxpayer wasn't better off. So Mr. Claber, you got a comment?
Well,
But to start with, I mean, the outcome of any price is clearly the interaction of supply and demand, and what you're referring are to the demand factors. So my answer would be, it really depends on the housing market. I think in housing markets with relatively tight supply, places like California, you ended up running up the house price. The seller was better off in those instances.
So the consumer, maybe he benefit, maybe he didn't benefit. We know the taxpayer did not benefit. We've heard some discussion of the fact, or some have made the assertion that there would no longer be a 30-year fixed mortgage in America without a Fannie and Freddie. Yet, were there not 30-year fixed mortgages in subprime? Were there not 30-year fixed mortgages in jumbo? You gentlemen and lady have researched the market. Am I correct in that assertion?
You're correct. There are 30-year fixed-rate mortgages without Fannie and Freddie in the parts of the market where they don't exist.
So they've existed in America in parts of the market where Fannie and Freddie didn't exist. Isn't it also true, perhaps not common, but in OECD nations in Europe, you can also find 30-year fixed, at least I think in Sweden and Denmark. I've tripped across a few other countries. Is it also true you can find examples of 30-year fixed overseas?
You certainly find it in Denmark.
I think
I see my
Denmark's the
time
only
has
country.
expired. I thank the chairman.
Thank the gentleman from Texas.